Sri Lanka. This is Yasmin Yusuf, and right now I am with the very cool Leah of Boom Live. Firstly, congratulations on, I can't even remember, but the first time we spoke was on a Zoom call. It was you and Karen, I think about 1.5 to 2 years ago. So congratulations for keeping a good thing this far.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we're marking this month 2 years of Boom.
Hey!
We made it. Gosh. I just took a minute there. Anyway, and that was when we spoke to you, was sort of within a couple of months of us actually having launched it, and very low key though, because I remember we had a whole plan of like not saying anything about it until we had something to say, which is, very often in Sri Lanka we find that, or just generally, like a lot of people have a lot of fanfare around things that, there isn't really anything else to say except the fact that we're there. But this was something really important to us. And yeah, it was really exciting to know that we've made it 2 years later.
And this is fantastic because you guys are like pretty much one of the few entities that's keeping a good thing going, which is like really taking the artists, putting them in places where they belong, doing a lot of marketing and PR, and having great success stories that people like Harin and Chalka Gajabahu should take note of because of the work.
I didn't put that there.
No, I'm saying that because I feel like as people who are representing Sri Lanka at such big festivals and places, even in our own island, it's a moment of pride. It's a moment of saying, I'm Sri Lankan and I'm bringing something unique to this table that is proudly Sri Lankan. And I think Boom Life has done that so well with the Soul, Dot Dote, very recently Irie, and with artists like Jesse Gamage. And it's just a matter of time till this becomes larger than life. So hats off to you, Karen, and everyone behind Boom Live. You and your multiple personalities too. Hey!
It's the only thing that's keeping it going. No. Yes, so I mean, the business has evolved a lot since it was launched in July 2021. And I appreciate everything you said because, I mean, we've talked a lot over the last 2 years. And for me, it is very much, what you said, but also about helping original music artists get a place that they fully deserve on a platform in Sri Lanka and overseas. Ultimately, we should be having to kind of fight people off almost, to say, where is the next act? Where are they coming from? Who are they? Can I buy their album? Can I do more? I love them. Where are their t-shirts? We see that with some select acts that we work with, and others, they really have to fight for the space. I mean, a lot of the acts in general, aside from whether they are with the Boom roster or not, have had to act as promoter, salesperson, finance guy, booker, everything, and label and distributor all in one. And obviously, while that teaches you a lot and it helps you kind of carve out the space, it actually really hurts your music.
Absolutely.
And that's why with Boom, we are the only homegrown sort of, entity. And for this last sort of 8 months, I've been driving the business specifically in that area. Kiran is still part of the Boom family, but he's overseas now, and he's sort of helping us look at the sort of international side of things for some of the artists. But for example, with Irie, who is leaving tomorrow on a tour that I've steered, which I'm very excited about because it just sort of shows that this can be done.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people think, oh, well, like how I have to go to India or whatever. No, yes, India is great, by the way. Thank you, India. But also, we have to look way beyond the shores of our minds of what we think we deserve and what we're able to achieve. And I think with Irie is a really good example. We signed him early last year, and I have been sort of working with Sasith on a number of different aspects of his career. So from labels and working with labels and fostering those relationships. And then beyond that, looking at how to get him seen and heard overseas. And that has been a really interesting kind of run because like tomorrow he flies, like I said, and he's playing across 5 countries, Europe and UK, Croatia, Netherlands, Portugal, Czech Republic. He's playing multiple festival lineups. We've got 3 festivals in the UK. So this is what I mean. And that is one accolade. But overall, with a multitude of the artists that we work with, even the soul, I mean, they have literally been a mainstay in this country. They are so incredible. And they are like the ones that I mentioned earlier of having had to do so much to carve out that space. And now, 8 years on, they have the diehard fans, but they most importantly have the music that is purely theirs. And that's what, Boom gets so excited about,
And that is what, even fans and everyone get excited about because, it is a product that is worth dying for.
Yeah, and also, you mentioned like other important individuals around the country need to know that we are working to create pride. At the end of the day, we have a lot going for us as Sri Lankans, talent-wise, and we have a lot of experimental creativity. And often we kind of burrow ourselves into niches because we feel that that's the safe spaces where the audiences are more warm, more encouraging, more accepting. But actually, that has to change. And that's the way it changes with people who are really kind of able and maybe not aware enough, maybe not tuned to this sort of idea, but to have a diverse cultural offering, it is no longer the traditional Kandyan dance / fire breathing /
how outdated is
dancers
that?
on a stage / no offense, those are fine, but that's not definitive of Sri Lanka in 2023. Our artists have an incredible amount to share, and they should not have to fight for the space or the right to be sharing that. And if you look at just outside the music space, if you look at, he's a good friend, but Shehan Karunatilaka, and what he achieved with Mali Almeida, and that was purely years of hard work on his own, getting it out there, and suddenly Sri Lanka's on the map.
Yeah.
Because he went and submitted that, and he pushed for that. Obviously, he had partners, he had a publisher, etc. So that's my role, is to take them out there and help do that, but we also need that ecosystem to support. So we need audiences to come out and not be picky about whether they just want to hear a cover of Summer of '69 again. Please stop.
I'd like to think Zombie is the new. Is that okay? Yeah. I'd like to think that Zombie is the new Summer of '69.
Please stop. The Cranberries were in the 90s. You know what I'm saying?
Dolores,
Why?
may her soul rest in peace.
I know. Yes. I love the song. I grew up to it. It was my teenage years. I love it.
But bye. Let's embrace something new now. Our generation needs to live too.
Please. No, also, why limit the scope?
Exactly.
Why make someone feel, okay, we have a great artist. He's 18, right? Yes, I know. He's 18. Jonathan Anthony, right? Otherwise known as Lonabetch. And he's fresh.
Yeah.
He's been recording his music on his own, just making this because he loves it. He's all originals. And I'm thinking, okay, you don't have to pigeonhole yourself at all. You will be accepted and loved and given a chance because you are trying, right? But how many more of those are there out there?
So many.
Right. We know that because, I must have interacted with over 65 to 70 artists in Sri Lanka, directly having calls and meetings and chats about working together. We can't take on all of those people, but I want them to know that they have someone or a team who just knows they are there and is supporting them whenever they can. Just having a great chat and saying, good luck, and we'll, if we can, we will. But obviously, it's not possible. We look after a smaller roster, obviously, over sort of 20 odd artists, but actual full-timers are 10. So that's the ones that we actually really focus on. But giving them a chance and letting them know that they can actually be seen and heard and loved. That's a big part of it.
So what has the journey been like for these 2 years? I kind of like
time
that
do you have?
little laugh.
This gray hair is real.
It happened because of stress.
Because I'm so tired, but also trendy. Sorry. Give me a mic and a camera and I'm anybody's. The 2 years have been incredibly difficult. No. Look, I'm still in it. I love it, but it's super hard also because trying to carve out respect and tolerance for the artists from other people that form what one might call a traditional ecosystem of a music industry has been very challenging because, just simple things like you got to pay for the sound. The artist can't be doing that. The artist can't show up and have to deal with the infrastructure of your event. They are not wallpaper. They are there to be appreciated for their craft. They're here to perform. They are here to share what they've worked on, with your audience. So promotion, no. Sound costs, no. All these like simple things that in other countries are already set and understood, So I felt like I was one of those people who have been fighting that corner very hard and having to teach a lot of people across promoters, venues, event owners, etc. And at the same time, some of those event owners and promoters and venues have been incredible to work with because they've supported it. They're like, right on, we're with you. And that has been super encouraging. So thank you, guys. You know who you are. To the others, I'll call you later. But honestly, it has been one thing I have to say that really keeps me going is this discovery and of artists, not the new ones, not like the new. It's more like just having those moments of sharing and listening to a new track or talking about where should we go next and what do you want. And I love that. I get off on that. Strategizing and working with people and executing those ideas and strategies, super important. So I would say that that has been a big part of the journey. Also getting to know so many people. I was in creative communications for a long time before that, and also in music and music festivals, but I don't think I've had to interact with this many people over the last 2 years. So I've enjoyed that. Challenges wise, it's so damn hard to build a startup business in this country.
Yeah.
I know everybody, look, I am not a sugarcoater. I don't like to sort of pretend like it isn't what it is. It's better to call it out now and fix it so that whoever comes along next has it better, right? And I welcome people who are going to only help the industry more by being more involved and creating more business within music, because that is really important.
Absolutely.
It is extremely economically viable in the sense of if we all work together, this is a very lucrative industry. I mean, look at South Korea. South Korea created K-pop. They exported, big hit entertainment. They created this hugely lucrative industry that now is a huge part of their economy.
And it's spread over worldwide. And look at the girls having fights for BTS at Columbus City Center.
Oh, I know, right? How crazy. Columbus City Center. I mean, if you look at things like people, there was a whole thing that there was a company underneath that launched a Learn Korean class. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. Subscribe it only, right? And 2 million people applied to learn because they realized people don't understand the K-pop songs.
Oh,
right?
what?
So a whole bunch of people across the world signed up within the first month just to learn the Korean slang, so that they can understand and appreciate the song.
That is incredibly crazy considering that happened, and just imagine how much you can export, all these languages connected with Sri Lanka.
Well, exactly. I mean, Sri Lanka, we are the only country in the world that speaks Sinhala, right?
Yeah.
So Sinhala music is only going to be relevant to Sri Lankans unless
we do
it's
something
packaged. Can we start that again? Sorry.
No, I actually like that word, packaged.
Oh, we'll do it again. No, I'm joking. It needs to be packaged and articulated and sold in a way that is, maybe a bit more relevant to other people. Now, if you look at, what happened with Yohani, yes, great. That song got heard and loved. And that's a great example of something that didn't need to be understood. It needed to be appreciated. But then beyond that, there hasn't been a lot in that field, which is a shame because it should have opened the door and that floodgate should have just, been lucrative out for a number of different Sri Lankan artists. Equally though, the Tamil music scene, I'm extremely interested in that also. I feel like there is so much that can happen with that. And there are some great promoters, some fantastic artists, and they need to be seen and heard by a wider audience. And whether that is, I'm just dropping a hint to anyone who's thinking about it, but if you want to open a venue, I'll be more than happy to help you with that. But we need more venues because we can't be at the mercy of a venue that just wants to curate the night the way they want. We need a blank canvas venue. I mean, I have talked about this with a lot of people who are in the music scene, and we've all agreed that there is a huge scope for that. And it shouldn't just be one, there should be 20,
Because there are, and with tourism opening its floodgates, like literally all the work that's being done right now, and at least what's been on the papers and stuff. Yeah. Just imagine, you want to discover drum and bass, you want to discover proper Sinhalese music, like the folksy stuff. And by the way, there was actually this theater group, I can't remember which one, they did some amazing, what do you call that? Kolama in English and Singhala. Wow. So people to discover stuff like that, and Sri Lanka has its own Sri Lankan Tamil music. And there is a market for Sri Lankan Tamil music thanks to people like the Tikare Pasanga, the Tamil rock band that recently came out, etc., etc. So you're right. And then I remember there are times where there's artists from abroad, like live loopers, etc. They come down, they want to perform, but then, like the night is so set out for like an R&B and hip hop night. Like, come on, man, that's so old and outdated. No one wants that anymore, except if you're drunk and stuff. But we're not here about that life. We're here about originality. And I think there is so much that can be done.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said for giving people an opportunity to curate it differently. Like, it doesn't have to stay in a niche, because ultimately niches are fine if you have such a wide, thick and heavy mass market scene.
Yeah.
That's the indie scene or the alternative scene or the world music scene or the jazz scene or the hip hop or rock or whatever you want to call it, like house and glitch and minimal, whatever. All of these things exist in these tiny pockets, and that's purely because there's not enough money and not enough belief and investment. Belief is the key word there.
Yeah.
That people want to put into it because they think it's going to fail. And it's just, it's quite mind-blowing. Like, if you look at where EDM was, I mean, EDM in itself is like, oh my God, like electronic dance music. I mean, the Brits laughed because they were like, we've been doing this since the 70s and early, mid-80s. This is when it was huge. And it was called dance music, like full on. Raves were happening and all that. And then suddenly the rest of the world wakes up because America's like, hey, what's that? Can I have some? Oh, I like it. Let's do it. Like, all full 100% commercialized. And that's when the rest of the world discovered, well, not the rest of the world, but like, parts of the world like us were like, ooh, EDM. And you're like, no, okay, sure, fine. But then everybody wants to get behind that because one does it, then 5 do it, and then suddenly it makes sense. But actually, there's so much more merit in diversity and originality and creativity and stepping out a little bit beyond your boundaries of comfort just to try something out. So I think that's also a big mantra for Boom. And I think for me, like personally, I am very excited about being able to bring the diaspora artists not necessarily physically home all the time, but
that would be nice.
That would be very cool.
Like Rolex and Sean.
Sean, great. Priya Raghu. I mean, like if you look at even, obviously MIA started this whole thing from putting Sri Lanka on the Modern Music Day map.
Yeah.
Ultimately, these are all artists that I feel, we've kind of missed out on because we weren't really, well, they're not played enough here, right? We know them because of this residual effect from international media. So we need to be celebrating our local artists. And one thing I'll say to you, Yasmin, props to you. You have always highlighted Sri Lankan artists, whether they're here or overseas. And I really want to say thank you for that, because without that, we wouldn't even have any kind of finger on the pulse of what's happening.
It's teamwork. Music makers
makes
first.
the dream work.
Yeah. Oh, cheesy line.
Sorry. Let me start again. Damn it. This is like the 10th time I've said that. No, so my point was that if the diaspora artists, felt connected to their home ground,
Oh,
if they
yeah, man.
knew that we love their music, that we're listening to it despite them not necessarily always getting radio play, because we don't need the radio stations all the time for that. No offense
Absolutely.
again, but you guys need to pick it up, because the radio stations are going to get left behind if they don't stop playing 80s and 90s music or early 2000s. I mean, it really needs to stop, because they're not educating or being guidance gravitational sort of guiders through this, because if they don't do this, they're going to end up being left behind. They're going to have a lot of problems with relevance. And, the 20-year-old or the 18-year-old now is like not listening to the radio. I mean, they're going to be like, I don't know if I buy into that anymore, because that music's not on TikTok or that music's not on Twitch. I want the music that my peers are giving me on the daily. So I'm going to stop ranting about that. But anyway.
No, but it's interesting to know.
Radio. Yeah, but I do love radio stations. I used to be on radio, and I really believe in the power of it. But I think that we really need to figure out how we tie that back, because these diaspora artists are not able to connect. And so they don't even see Sri Lanka as a possible pool of support. And I mean, revenue-wise, it's difficult because we're not regulated, and also everything's kind of, unofficially found. But at the end of the day, fans are fans.
But props to Spotify and
Yes.
iTunes for keeping it legitimate.
Yes.
I mean, you can't buy those charts. You can't, manipulate those charts.
No, definitely not. And I really believe in those as well. I mean, Spotify have done a great deal of work in the country, in the sense of introducing a great deal of opportunities for artists. Like, I mean, we've been on some of those calls with them, and I think, it's really great that there's that opportunity. I mean, again, though, the thing is, there isn't enough of a monetary or a commercial gain for these artists.
Yeah.
Through that. I mean, any artist. I have friends who are in bands in the UK who are like touring with big rock bands, and their revenues on, Spotify are still like 5 cents or 10 cents or whatever an earn. And it's really not much. So that's why the live music experience is now the fundamental revenue earner for artists. And it's something we've been working very hard to push. The problem is that we're always at the mercy of sort of this preference, which I feel is influenced more by personal preferences versus what would be good for a community.
Exactly.
Or a music-loving audience. At the end of the day, we've been curating a lot of different events, like in the last sort of 3 months. Boom has evolved in that way, where we are 100% dedicated to the artists, but the dedication's sort of evolution has changed into having to curate music events, or at least work with the promoters and the venues to tell them, okay, you need to do it like this. Let's do this. Let's get this artist here. Let's line it up this way. And then help them with the promotion, which obviously always benefits our artists. So that's something that we've been working on. And it's been going well, because it's giving people who don't normally get the limelight a chance to be seen. But yeah.
Which is like fantastic. And I'm an absolute fan of what you've been doing, you and your team, because there's bands like Owl Trio, which we don't get to see more often. And recently you started the cabaret thing. You also started working a lot with comedian Tanya. And it's just really, really good. Here's hoping to see a lot more from your end. I know it's like crazy right now, and like just doing a radio show and having all these kids send in their music, it's like, it's crazy. It's come to that level where people want to still keep doing new things, but again, opportunities from other ends also need to open up, and you play such a good role over there. So all power to you, Leah.
Thank you so
Hey.
much. That was a really like fumbly one. I'm joking.
Did it.
I'm joking. But thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, I also wanted to say that I think Sri Lankan musicians need to come forward. And I hope there's something in the works potentially with Boom and partners to try and give people an opportunity to be seen and heard. And it's not about management per se, because again, we're dedicated to the artists that we work with. And, some people might say, well, you have like 10 or 15, that's like a lot. But actually, because viability wise,
Exactly.
it needs to be viable for us to run the business, but also, most importantly, to be able to serve the artists the way that we believe we need to and we must, and for them. So, if you look at the number of artists that we work with, the scope is still limited for them. And that has to change, because the scope needs to be wider, whether they are being sought after by radio stations or podcasts or bigger gigs. Why are we such a DJ focused environment only? We need to have more live music out there. I love DJs. We manage some of the best DJs in the country, and I will 100% fight over whatever to make sure they get seen and heard. But in terms of that style, the style of the DJ, as in like actual kind of genres that are associated with that, are also very limited.
Which is interesting, because see, a lot of, as far as I know, there is like a shortage of DJs who play commercial music, and this is like a great time for the clubs to actually reinvent themselves. But unfortunately, what's not happening is exactly what you said. Like, pick out DJs who bring in some freshness, man. Like, from the looping to like, I don't know, like there's many DJs who play like different genres. And recently I saw Aswajit and Nigel Pereira play. Yes. What was that?
Non-applicable.
Man?
They're amazing.
Oof. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because Aswajit is a perfect example of someone who has worked tirelessly over years to carve out an industry, a genre and a scene that would support the music that he wants to play. Now, an artist shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But he did it. And he, him with Nigel and Sunara and even, their whole kind of set that they work with and they perform with, amazing. The Jambutech label is fantastic. And I think we actually work with them, Nigel and Sunara on the roster, us, we work with on several projects. And I fully believe, again, that that's the kind of scene that needs to get more. When we represent Nigel and Sunara, they are, super talented, have a diverse range of sets, but they have their loves that they want to play.
Exactly.
And they need to be able to get that chance to play them, which they do, and that's the corner we fight. But it's not always easy. Equally, you have artists like Joanne Jolie, who is, a cabaret performer, is British, she lives in the South. She's incredible. And she has been doing so much to try. I mean, she's performed in the West End, in Ibiza, in India, and here she is ready to go. And for us to introduce that the amount of effort that goes into just pitching one gig, it's a lot, and it shouldn't be, because people should be excited that there's a diverse range available here. That's, I think, even with we have Music Matters Jazz Trio, and that's Sumudi, Uvindu and Sarani, and they are literally so dedicated to their belief in jazz, but real jazz. Like true jazz and no vocals. I mean, sorry, I'm being a bit simplistic, but I want sort of your everyday person to understand that these kinds of things are available to you as artists and performances.
And something that needs to be understood is the mindset of an everyday person. And I feel like a lot of people just are like, oh, you're an everyday person, so just stick to your radio music. Right. It's like, no, man. No. Like, once I played dubstep to like a security uncle, and he was vibing, yo. Exactly. And I'm not making this up. He was actually vibing. I took a Chaita Atalege song to a bunch of Indians in India, and I played it, and they were vibing. They were like, we love this yaar, and they bought it on iTunes, like literally like in a minute. And I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So that's it. Like, change your mind about how you want to bring out the best in people's music and abilities, and the next thing you know, it becomes the next big hit.
100%. And we need to also welcome the fact that there are a lot of artists who are regional or touring, who are, based overseas, who come down. Like Jesse Gamage is a perfect example. He's a touring musician. He's extremely talented.
Yeah.
And he's original. The entire sort of range is original. He'll throw in a cover or two if he really feels like it. But the fact is that this guy is one of our own, and we need to be able to have that opportunity and to share it and to have him seen by a bigger community than just, the ones that we curate.
Yeah.
We just signed Radisha, who is an amazing singer, songwriter. She's just starting out with her originals, but like, she used to sing. She grew up with the bhajans and she loved that, and that was what she really, really kind of focused on. And now to kind of curate that and find artists and other musicians to work with, again, it's quite challenging. I'd also call out to any musicians out there who are like looking for sort of work, to collaborate with others, live musicians mainly, obviously producers as well. We would welcome it because we're trying to put a whole bunch of people together to sort of diversify the pool, so to speak. So yeah, just, look it up.
Boom Live. There's only one Boom Live. So what are the top 3 things you feel need to change about Sri Lanka's existing music scene?
Top 3 things. Okay.
In no order.
In no order. The music industry. Okay. Monetization. Like there needs to be. If you look at another country, like India's tough because it's such a diverse range and so many multiple languages. But let's just say if you look at a country like the UK or Singapore, or Australia, these countries have, despite the challenges of the digital kind of revolution, there are still ways in which to monetize music, right? And I think that right now it's still very embryonic. We have to go to a brand. We need to tell the brand you will love them, and then now you're going to fund their album, and then they're like, okay, well, how do we fit into that picture? And you're like, okay, well, that's true, but also, is there not a desire to support the craft? And how do we find people who would be happy to support the craft without it being something that you're indebted to so hard, right? So there need to be grants. There needs to be a grant system, whether it's government or philanthropic or whatever. And I wish Boom could be that right now, but it's not possible. Maybe down the line. But ultimately, it is monetization, making it lucrative to live and as a musician, even 3/4 of your time. So I would say that's one big thing. And I have plenty of ideas of how to resolve that. Just don't want to list them all out here because I'll bore you to death. But
that's why DM her in case you want to make a change. Legit.
Please do. Secondly, I think it is about being seen and heard. So I don't see a problem with having a legitimate network of promoters, right? We should form a group. We should all come together and align and have promoters for the central region, north, east, south, southeast, southwest, northwest. Let's find people who are just really honestly good at putting gigs together. Because yes, there are gigs, but they're usually dedicated to, do you have a female DJ? Or you have a band who can sing Sinhala covers? And you're like, no.
Hashtag vegetable night.
Yeah, exactly. I can't tell you how many requests a week I get for stuff like that.
Wow.
Oh, I know. It is. Our team get the most ridiculous requests, and I'm thinking, there's someone who's woken up in the morning who's like, you know what? I need a female DJ for my 30-person party, and you're like, okay. And look, frankly, I'm not. This is not a gender thing. I'm not offended, nothing. All I'm saying is, I always ask, we don't go by gender. We just want to know, what genre of music do you want? And that's the thing. People need to know what it is that they want. And the reason that's important is because the second you define yourself, even slightly, you will have an audience that is a little bit more loyal to you.
Exactly.
They will pay a little bit more money and they will come along because they know what they're getting. That is key. So I would say, secondly, it's about a very legitimate promoter network. And I'm not suggesting that we all have to sign up to some, secret handshake members group. I'm just saying, let yourself be known and get good at it. Because if you're good at it, you will make money.
Exactly.
Okay? And we will support you. Boom will send artists, whether it's to Kandy or, I don't know, Monragala or, Gaul or... the East Coast as well. Working with some of the best people out there who are working really hard to make the scene in Arugambe work. But, why not create an opportunity for us to be seen and heard across the country?
Exactly.
Because you can't be expected to have these bigger budgets right, that are supported, or we know some artists in this country who have been around a long time have the facility to go and put on a show in Kandy, but that's because they have the facility, commercial sponsorship or whatever, but that delivery is different. It's not albums, it's not love, it's not, I need to hear that track again for the 15th time this week. No, that's what we want to create. And the third thing I would say is the audiences need to be more supportive. I was going to say venue, but I think, that's circumstantial. That depends on the sort of scene, but audiences need, they're quite finicky when it comes to certain music experiences, but actually when you thrust them into it, they're like, oh my God, I love this. And that's the thing. Our audiences need to be more hungry to support our local acts, because say 100 people to come to a gig, well, why not the other 50 or 200? It's not that bad, but we are creatures of habit. I have worked quite hard these last few months to create new experiences. And I have friends who literally be like, comfort, and then go, I'm just going to go to the same old bar I go to every week. And you're like, why, God, why? Because we are actually finding comfort in familiarity.
Yeah.
Whereas in other countries, it's not like that. So I would say, force yourself to change a little bit.
Do it. You'll love it.
You will love it. You'll be grateful.
Hi.
There'll be cocktails. Come on.
Yeah.
And good times and laughs and music and
Memories.
new friends.
Facebook friends.
I'm making a lot of promises. What kind of business are you in? New friends business.
That actually will pay.
That would.
I am now your
Otherwise
friend.
known as a dating service.
Otherwise also known as Rent a Friend.
Rent a friend.
I can be your friend for...
Yeah, see, how much would you charge to be a friend to someone for the evening?
For 3 hours, I think 20,000 would be a good amount.
20 grand. Wow.
I would spend
3
5,000.
hours.
I think I would also spend 5,000 rupees on them.
Oh,
Hey.
so you're actually like, okay, you're putting back into the pot. Okay.
I mean, I feel it would be an honest thing, right? It's like, I want to be your friend. You are buying me to be your friend, but I will also be your friend.
Nice.
So, good package deal. And so, what's plans for Boom Live?
Okay, so right now, I've been, as I said, I've sort of centrally focused here, and the team is growing. I would love it to grow faster, but obviously we have to stay in line with what the industry is doing. And the country, I mean, to be fair, launched the company off the back of a pandemic into an economic crisis and just coming out of it now. So I honestly can't be sure whether we've had 2 normal years. Well, I know we haven't, but we've sustained despite, and we've signed more people and been growing, which is great. So the next steps are to really move away from the day-to-day of gigs, because that, while it is very important, it is also quite difficult still to get the industry to respect the process. So whether it's like, we represent artists, so our whole job is to do everything for the artists except make their music, right? And so that's the purpose of us, and we've never had a problem. All the artists have been so loyal, so with it, and happy to have us on that, because we take away all this stress. So it'd be great to have that sort of, kind of reciprocation of, well, not reciprocation, but more like have that kind of understood within certain frameworks. But that's not a big deal, because we still, still doing what we do and doing it well. But the future is about moving into helping this commercialization happen.
Yeah.
So I've been working with a lot of brands, been talking to a lot of commercial entities about what it means to actually support original music. Trying to get them to understand, inviting them very slowly, low-key to these gigs, just helping them understand what the scene is, So there's that. And the plan is to work with labels internationally and connect them to artists. We're doing that as well. And growing the live scene. So I didn't want to initially, because my background is also like, producing events and campaigns and experiences and music festivals also, having worked for a number of international music festivals like Glastonbury, and then also creating our own, which is Electric Peacock Festival. I feel that no matter what I say, I am essentially still going to evolve back to that, which is creating these wider regional and internationally recognized music experiences where our artists can be center stage. So that's also something that I'm working on. But the future of Boom is to become a live sort of entertainment company, and to essentially be entirely focused on original entertainment. So yeah, but I mean, there's obviously things within that, like the management company is the focus, there's touring and booking agents, and then labels, I mean, being a label, but that is all down the line.
Hey, it sounds hectic, but here you
Yeah.
love to take bulls by the horns.
Well, we are hiring, so if anybody wants to send their CV in, please do to boom.live on Instagram, or the email is it me you're looking for at boom.live. Yes, I did.
I like that.
I referenced Lionel Richie because at the end of the
love
day,
it.
you know,
You remember.
it's true.
Is it me you're looking for?
Yeah, is it me you're looking for at theboom.live.
Now that you know Sri Lanka. Well, thanks a lot, Leah. All the best to you, and here's wishing you all the power because.
Thank you so
Hey.
much, Yasmin, for having me and for helping me mark this day. I'm really excited. Not day, but the fact that it's, 2 years of the company, and I'm very excited about where it can go. And we absolutely can only do it with people like you who support us and help us.
It's teamwork,
Getting out.
bro.
Thank you.
Jaja.